Hey guys, I encourage you, because this is like kind of like a follow up, to watch my previous video when I talked about and just reacted, live reaction really, to the entire new Warriors, right? The new Warriors trailer. Check it out. Sorry again, this is not my usual setup. I still have not moved my camera over because I'm going to be shooting a couple more episodes of For Canon's Sake. The last one I shot, interviewing some X-Men showrunners and writers. You can go check that out. And Eric and Julia Lewald is live on all major digital platforms, and the live video is on this channel. But I got to put things into perspective, because there's going to be a lot of folks that latch on to this craziness, because that's sort of the wave. We have this wave of people that want to go out of their way to call out basically social justice nonsense, and it is that. Let's be clear here, but they want to go out of their way to, of course, call it out in certain mediums, in any medium they can find it, no matter if they really know about the material. Y'all know over here, I focus on what I know, what I emphasize, and what I'm on. This is why you don't see me speak on the nonsense that appears in other shows and stuff like that. It's because I don't watch them. But comic books is something that I'm very invested in, because I do reviews nonstop, and I talk about it. Now, the reason why I want to put things into perspective is because not only have I discussed on this channel how bad it actually is with mainstream comic books, and also their adaptations on the, let's say, TV and film. It's getting progressively, dare I use that word, progressively worse. But we can rag on the writers. They deserve to be ragged on. But there also we have to look at the leadership going on, like in this case with Marvel Comics. Doesn't matter, be it, I would love to actually interview some of these guys over there to figure out what exactly it is they do, whether it be their editors, associate editors, lead editors, creative directors. I would love to know what exactly they do and how they display or act on their power. Because when something like this, which isn't the first bit of nonsense, but when something like this is passed, right, and greenlit, you have to go through all the channels, and you can imagine all the different channels that it goes through, who sees it. And not one person said, or they weren't strong enough if they did say it, but it doesn't seem like they were strong enough, if they do exist, to say, you know what, there's no way we're putting this out. Unless it's a complete joke, which hopefully, April Fools is coming up. Maybe April Fools that come up and they say, yeah, this whole thing, we just knew we were going to get you guys talking, so we're done. Okay. If that was the case, maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe so, you got us, okay? But if it's not the case, and they are just putting this out, all it does is validate everything that I've been saying for the last years. And that is that mainstream comic books have done nothing but become the social preference platform of a lot of leftists from a political angle. Now, this is the part where the people that don't really read comics use, like, hey, comics have always been, no, they haven't. Okay? They haven't. And I know it's easy to say. Maybe read some history article talking about X-Men and how they are representative of social justice. Debunk that, by the way. You can go watch that video. But Stan Lee talked about how he always put that stuff underlaying the plot. Never got in the way of anything. All right? These guys are leading with it now. And they're not hiding it. They're leading with it. They're leading with it. Guy gets on the new Warriors trailer, right? And he's talking about how how, like, for example, Snowflake, right, is non-binary. Okay, like
Snowflake has the power to generate individual crystallized. Snowflake trigger them if he's protecting somebody else. Snowflake is non-binary and goes by they, them.
like he leads with that, right? If that's what they thought to mention in this is supposed to be this introductory trailer, right? You're bringing back the new Warriors, and now there's a new team of new Warriors that they are going to facilitate, and they're leading with that, right? That's the first thing that he mentions about this character is the pronouns. Now, look, guys, this is just letting you in on what these guys are doing. Now, look this guy up. His name's what, Kibble Smith, something like that, right? Let me hold on.
And I am
Daniel Kibble Smith. I couldn't remember his name. I almost called him Steve. Bad place to pause it. But Daniel here, I looked him up a little bit, and it appears that he has a very, very predictable background. Now, I know recently he did write some books for Marvel, but prior to that, he was involved in like BuzzFeed of all places, right? And you know how BuzzFeed is. So what's happening is same thing that I talked about with Black Panther. And ironically, I believe he wrote Black Panther, Deadpool versus Black Panther, if I'm not mistaken. Same thing, where you get guys that come from these different angles of provable political, social political platforms, right? That emphasize generally one dominant line of thinking, right? There is no diversity of thought in some of the things these guys come from. This guy's your typical leftist, if you will, okay? And what has happened in the recent and increasing in the last decade, half decade probably, is that they are hijacking and infiltrating some of these mainstream comic books, not just the books, also the live action adaptations, and they have absolutely, really not really any passion about it. Like even when he talks about
interested in the new Warriors later. I remember seeing them on the shelf when I was
like he says later. He doesn't never say when he got into New Warriors. So I'm led to believe when he says I got into them later because he says he was intimidated.
A kid
when he saw him as a kid. He says he's intimidated when he saw him as a kid. So to me, that means that he maybe got on this last week, right? And he got the gig. I don't know. He doesn't never say. He never actually says when. He just say I got into them later. But like I said, with the Ta-Nehisi Coates, I think that's how you say his name, who writes Black Panther. No evidence of him ever being involved in comic books. And when I say that, being interested in it, like there's no. I looked it up. I tried it, and if somebody can find it, prove me wrong. I'm completely willing to be wrong on this. After it's one thing, but prior to him, and he's been around these guys well older than I am, both of these guys, and but with Coates, he's been around, and you know him for more of the political side. Again, another just mainstream leftist. Literally wins a award, a Harriet Beecher Stowe Award for social justice. That's literally the name of the award. And there's no evidence of him being into comics. There's no evidence of him talking about it, being passionate about it. But out of nowhere, he ends up writing Black Panther and Captain America and all of it, like just out of nowhere, okay? And the current run of Black Panther is absolute garbage. Intergalactic Wakanda mess. But yeah, so he does that, and he just ends up with a gig. I'm like, why is it that these new guys that they're bringing on, and then the guys that have been around, have gone completely crazy? You see 2016, post-2016, post-Trump inauguration, these guys have gone crazy. Even people that are the Jerry Duggins of the world, Conway, all these guys that have been around for not Jerry Duggins, excuse me, more so Conway. And these guys have been around for a while, and they just can't stop themselves. They've gone crazy. They've gone crazy. They're going absolutely crazy. And they wear their politics on their sleeve. And what I always talk about with this type of stuff, I say, hey, this is the equivalent to me getting picked up by Marvel or DC. And I take Batman, right? And I turn him into an anarcho-capitalist. Batman's not an anarcho-capitalist, okay? He's not. But that's the equivalent of what we're seeing happen now, where people are basically either changing the characters themselves or trying to use the platform, be it by Marvel or what have you, to just signal, to just put their own personal social purposes of politics, and it's so on the nose that they don't even have skill enough to hide it. Huh? But it goes back to, yes, we know this is trash, but it goes back to how this is allowed to happen. What's his name? C.B. Cebulski? Isn't he the editor-in-chief of Marvel right now? It's not Joe Quesadilla. So yeah, Quesadilla, I don't know what Quesadilla does anymore. I think Kevin Feige's replacing Quesadilla. But nonetheless, I don't know whose fault it is. It's hard to dictate that. And if you guys have, like, if there are people that have those connections there, I would love to interview either of those guys to know what their actual job is. But we did a whole stream on this, and I discussed how it takes a certain kind of man and woman, or a woman, to be in charge of people, definitely nowadays. And I speak from this as a guy that came up in the actual workforce, managing people, managing gyms, and in the hotel industry as well. And not everybody is cut from the cloth to make decisions, but also to say no and to be the bad guy, which is kind of what you have to be a good manager. You want to bring out the best in your employees and the best in the people that work for you and the best of people that you commission or what have you, right? But at the end of the day, if something is not up to standard or not up to, like, you're Marvel, right? In this case, you should expect greatness. And if it's not up to greatness standards, you have to have enough, I mean, dare I say, for lack of better terms, you have to have enough just testicular fortitude, let's call it that, to say, you know what? Nah, this is not getting put out. This is a terrible idea. Get out of my face. So we can sit up here and rag on Kibblesmith, which he gets exactly what he deserves. He gets what he deserves, okay? But we have to then also discuss the other elements of this and the chain, the leadership that's involved in this and has done absolutely nothing to stop this. It got to the point to where this was greenlit. This person said cool, this person said cool, that person said cool. Spent all this money, had their team make this trailer and all what have you, okay? So it went all through these channels and then to get uploaded on YouTube. And it's getting downvoted to the oblivion because people think that it's their, like, again, between Daniel or whoever's idea that it was, initial idea, it's about their social preferences. And so they wanted to make sure they put that stuff out. And that's what they did. And this is becoming more and more present because it's becoming more and more, no, it's not being hid. It's not underlaying any plot. It's not being hid in like a story or an arc anymore. It's like the whole premise of the character's existence or the whole point of the limited series or what have you is specifically addressing this. They had wear it on their sleeve. But you got to look at the proper channels. You got to look at the editors. You got to look at the creative directors. You got to look at the guys that are calling the shots. And they have to be criticized just as much as, it's like we can sit up and talk about the writers. But I don't think this stops until those guys, there's people in leadership spots within Marvel that are bold enough to tell these guys no and stop this nonsense. I've discussed how, it's a big shout out to you, boy, Zach, and how definitely with Marvel, though they will never do it because they don't like. I'm pretty sure those guys over there in Marvel don't like them, just like they don't like me. The countless amounts of artists, like some of the artwork that you guys see me have, I'm not gonna name any names or anything like that. Some of that stuff I get specifically from artists, and writers that write for current Marvel. Like not even like, oh, they were writers or artists back in the day. Like no, like these guys are fans of me. They reach out to me. It's just that they put their career on the line by aligning with me. So I'd never out them unless they said, you know what, you and I are bros. And it's cool. You and I agree on some certain issues. Like I said, we're gonna get Kevin from who's the creator of Blue Marvel. We're gonna get him on for canon's sake. Good dude. But a lot of people aren't like him. You know what I mean? And I understand it. I would never out somebody in that way. But nonetheless, a guy like your boy Zach, right, is a person that is. Stuff all in my beard. But a guy like your boy, he's a very knowledgeable person. And I talk about some of like either continuity issues and some of the issues that take place. And I would think a guy like that would be like crazy good, right? And I'm not saying that he wants to do this or anything like that. I have no idea. I'm just saying as an example, he's a guy that's very knowledgeable, and he will be a good guy to have on the staff as a consultant at minimum. And because he's very knowledgeable, and not only is he knowledgeable on what goes down right now, he's an actual reader of the comic books. A lot of guys nowadays, like I said in the beginning of this video, who just want to just gripe, right? They're not really invested in it. He's actually invested in it. He reads current comic books, reads a lot of old comic books, so he can bridge that gap and so forth. But you would think a guy like that would be ripe to work for a company as such. No, has their own politics, has their own social views, calls his stuff out. And you would think that a company as big as that would want a guy like him. But even if they got somebody, let's say maybe on the opposite side, you'd have that balance there, right? And that will prevent it from being so obvious, right? When you're making these comic books or you're putting these comic books out, it's just painfully obvious that there is a political monopoly, a social political monopoly out there in Marvel. There's no political diversity there at all. And that will make it a little more tolerable if you are going to have more politically driven narratives. It will make it more tolerable if it was more balanced, but it's not balanced. It's just coming from one side, and it's over and over and over and over and over. But yeah, at some point in time, the guys that need to get criticized are the people that greenlight this stuff. They allow this to happen. And there's so many people that are part of these projects, that are part of this company, in this case Marvel, that they have to get criticized with this. They have to. They keep getting let off the hook, but man, it ain't just the writers. It's not just generic or Marvel. You got to think of the chain, right? If there was a guy that was a part of their projects that actually had power, that actually had some sort of power, to say, you know what, this is not the direction that we're going to go, we wouldn't see this. But they're allowing it to happen. People are infiltrating these comic books. People are wearing their comic book, more so their social views and their political views on their sleeves now. And they're putting it in, on the nose. People that have never been, no evidence of them ever being involved in comic books, keep getting books. People that don't deserve books, that have written crappy, nonsensical books, continue to get books. How Kelly Thompson is writing Black Widow, I have no idea. I have no idea. But this is where we're at. So all I'm saying is, until the leadership issue is addressed, you're going to continue to see them do stupid stuff like this, because obviously they don't have anybody over there that has enough testicular fortitude to be like, no, leave your social views out of, unless the character, it's like me writing Anarchy from DC. That'd be one thing, right? I could write him more along my lines of thinking, and it makes sense for the character. But me writing him does not mean that I should do that for, like, let's say anybody else. Like I said, a Batman or someone like that if I was to write them. And I would have enough integrity, enough respect for the source material, or more so respect for the character itself and what they stand for to do that. These guys don't. They just look at it like, oh, look at this. Yeah, I'm getting to write this movie, or I'm getting to write this this comic book on these characters that I didn't create, or excuse me, on these characters that I did create, but I'm just using this big platform that Marvel or DC has to put forth my personal social views. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Like, it's starting to get progressively worse this is as worse as it's been, in terms of just being as on the nose as it is. But I think it's just gonna continue to get worse because, again, they don't got control. I don't know if it's Saborski. I don't know if that's how you say his name, Joe Quesadilla. But the Quesadilla don't got it under control. Kevin Feige, I think, replaced him. So now Kevin Feige, if he's already filling the position, somebody over there, they ain't got control.